Good morning. It's Sunday morning, 9 o'clock, and here I am with a Sunday thought. During the week, I found myself having a bit of a cold, all sorts of things, and then I became aware because I watch it what my thoughts were doing. Our self talk is so important. When things aren't going right, when we're not feeling the best, all those little bits and pieces, what are we saying to ourselves? When you recognize the bigger picture that our thoughts create our vibrational rate, and it's like when we get down in our thinking, we start, berating ourselves mentally, not verbally, but mentally. And that's what I wanted to talk today about. How are we not perhaps respecting ourselves in the way we want our lives to work through our thoughts? It is so easy to beat yourself up when you do something silly or inconsequential that you have a judgment about. You'll beat yourself up. You'll say, "What did I do that for?" Or that was a silly thing to think or say or whatever. And it's very important to become aware when those little thoughts just come up and begin to go out and create, because they create your vibrational rate. That is the rate of what's going out that will come back. I find self talk is often not thought about. It's just, oh, well, it's just my thinking, it's just inside my head. That is not true, because every thought that you have goes out to work with your basic vibrational rate. Yes, words are more powerful. Yes, those words that you speak have a power about them, and how you speak them has a power. And that's why with prayer, for instance, we speak our word, like mental mind treatments. I speak the word because it has a power about it. But we can't negate the power we have in our own thinking process. You're thinking a lot of the time, often when you're not aware of it. The key is to become aware, and it's like sitting back and creating a part of you that kind of oversees or watches what the thought processes are, especially when you get internally upset. So interesting, I should say. I was going to say upsetting, but actually it's interesting how when we get upset with what's happening on the outside, that we begin to feel maybe inadequate, uncertain, unsure. And so we begin to doubt ourselves. And if you're not running, so I was going to use the word herd like a cat, but if you're not running awareness of how those thoughts are, your vibrational rate as to what you're creating can take a dip. And then you begin to wonder, let's say 6 weeks later, because what I found was we tend to pattern in about a 6 weeks variety. So if you are really upset one day, you can watch this on your calendar, mark it. If you get really upset, maybe angry at yourself or angry at somebody else, and you don't think about what you're thinking or even saying, make a mark on the calendar. And go ahead 6 weeks and just check back. What you will find is that next 6 weeks period of time, there will be sort of like an offshoot of that. It took me a long time to figure out the 6 week basics. And I often, when I'm working with people, will look at that 6 week pattern that they have. So then when the 6 week comes up, because it may not be the greatest of days, then we start the whole process again. And people often miss that because they think in terms of 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe a month, but usually not. But 6 weeks is the key I found that very important. So self talk is running kind of behind the scenes of what your thoughts are doing, what they are saying. Is there anything in the thought pattern that would be detrimental to what you are wanting to create or what you're wanting to do? Are we perfect? No, we're not perfect. We make mistakes, but being internally aware very often can be very, very important as to the direction what your life is going to do. And if you want to make a change, and often we do, it's kind of we get ho hum where we are, or something's just not working quite right. Take a look at what the thoughts are doing. What's running across the brow? What's going on in there? Because if it's going along up here, it's going out there. And if it's going out there, it's going to come back in here because the vibrational rate is sent there. Yes, we have some guides of how we can change things. We can, if we know we're having a thought we don't like, we can freeze it, evaporate it, and replace it. Very basic thing that I talk about quite often, because we got to have some way of being able to rectify when we speak in our heads. I guess I should say think in our heads without thinking. When we get upset, when we just react, and habits of thinking are really important. Sometimes it's good just to sit back in your mind and watch the thinking go across the, you might say, the front here. Because we have habits. We have habits of thought. And in that thought, we could have a lot of habits, which are probably are not as good as we would like for our, what you say, our vibrational rate. I've been fortunate in my life. Because I was became absolutely needing to find out how I works and operated. And it was like learning not through books, not even through other teachers a lot of the time. It was just because I would ask questions in myself. And because, and if those of you out there know that we have guides that work with us, if we're open to that, they will come and they would come and they would help me see. They would show me in a different way. Maybe dream at night, but basically I could sit down and I could talk to them. For many years, I just worked with a really great guide. And I learned so much about we human beings and how we basically make it hard for ourselves. And it's sometimes like a switch where we begin to do things like observing your thinking, just sitting back and watching television at the same time watching what your thoughts are doing. Where are they? What are they reacting to on the screen? Are they supportive? Are they critical? You know, if you have a critical mind, when I say critical mind, always criticizing yourself, everybody else, you know, it is never good enough. You know what I mean by that? And sometimes even myself now, sometimes I'll like, what are you doing? What are you do? And it's like, yes, once you become aware of what are you doing or what am I thinking or what am I projecting, you can stop it. And you can do the freeze, evaporate, and replace part too, but you also can get a handle on that subliminal thinking that most people don't even think about. And yet that is probably the most powerful because it contributes all the time to your vibration. And what is put out comes back. Where we go, that's the old saying, what goes out comes back. And doesn't always come back right away. It builds up. And so that's why I'm a proponent, is that the word? I think that's the word, a good big supporter of people spending time just sitting back and watching the thoughts go by and making sure that they are supportive and aware. So that's my Sunday thought today. Short, sweet, because I want you to really think about it. What are you actually thinking? You have a good day, and I'll be back tomorrow night, Monday, for mental mind treatments, and then we can really see how that works. Thanks a lot. Bye now.